Hi, good afternoon, Heather.
Hi, glad to be here.
Thank you. Devin Zeidelman with Scheer Partners, joining us for the BioBlast podcast here. We have Heather Ahlborn, who is the Senior Vice President for Contract Testing Services at MilliporeSigma. And we're just so delighted to have you here.
Thanks. Like I said, very good to be here.
So let's start with this. Contract testing services, for those that are less familiar, can you just further define what you do in your role today at MilliporeSigma?
Sure. So the contract testing service is part of our life science services division, part of MilliporeSigma. I should note that we're part of Merck KGaA Darmstadt, Germany. And so we operate as MilliporeSigma within the United States and Canada. And we are the life sciences arm of Merck KGaA Darmstadt, Germany. And so as such, within life science services, what we do is we offer a full range of services from manufacturing to contract testing. I am head of the contract testing services lab, and we have 4 labs that operate globally. And what we do is we provide those contract testing services to our pharmaceutical and specifically biopharmaceutical customers and clients. And so anytime that they're looking to characterize their therapeutics as they're in the development stage, or when they're in commercialization and they need to prove that those are, the molecules are what they say they are and that they are safe, that they come to us for those outsourced services.
That's a great overview. And so, contract research organizations, obviously better known as MilliporeSigma in the United States. I'll have to work on my German. But with that being said, you all handle kind of end-to-end solutions, right? You're looking at everything from safety and efficacy to efficiencies to how you can develop kind of bespoke APIs for big pharma. And so your background is really broad in the sense that you've seen a lot in the industry and you come from a big pharma background almost entirely throughout your career, taking on many different interdisciplinary roles. And so I would love to just know more about your background and your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. So I started out life as a physical chemist. I have a PhD in physical chemistry. I actually did computational chemistry. So, around 2000, I graduated 2002 with my PhD. And that was the time that, genomics had just taken off. The human genome had just been sequenced. Pharmaceutical companies were drowning in data. So lots and lots of good information was being generated. But how do you make sense of that? So I began my career with IBM. Really focused on pharmaceuticals industry and really effectiveness. How do you pluck out those molecules that are going to make good drugs, right? Good therapies that are going to hit the intended target and do the action that you want them to do. And so that's where it all started. And I've been fortunate enough to start out at IBM and then move into pharmaceuticals itself. And then I landed at MilliporeSigma, which we are a service provider, as you said. We help pharmaceutical clients from everything from research and drug development with APIs, consumables, everything in that early stage development equipment, the lab water, everything from that to the manufacturing. So we have, again, equipment, consumables that help and aid our clients manufacture drug products, and then the services. If they don't want to do it themselves, we also provide those contract services to make sure that we can make the therapies and we can also test the therapies. So we do really offer end-to-end solutions across the entire gamut for pharmaceutical clients. And for me personally, it's been really gratifying being part of this organization because I have worked across all of them. So in the research and development arm, in the manufacturing arm, and I just recently joined our services arm in November. So it never gets dull. This is an industry. Our life sciences purpose is that we impact life and health with science. And so, as a chemist, as a nerd, I love this industry and I love what it does because it really is about making life better for everyone.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, life and science and health is ever evolving, as is the scientific landscape of which we operate. And so when you think back to a decade ago or 5 years ago and fast forward through today, what has been the evolution or sort of the larger evolutions that you've seen take place in the industry? And where do you see that going in the future?
So, I mean, so I started out as a computational chemist. I love data, and I love the impact that data has been having on our industry over the last 20 plus years. And so really looking at how we generate more and better information to articulate, what is happening from a systems perspective. When I started, we talked a lot about systems biology, and the human body is this very complex set of systems that are interconnected. And the early pharmaceuticals, we really didn't know how they worked. It was a little bit of black magic that you took something and you noticed an effect. And over time, of course, with science and the evolution of science, we've gotten to really understand mechanisms of actions, how these systems are interconnected, and it's through data that we continue to evolve. And so with the genomics revolution that happened, just as I was coming out of graduate school, we were really able to start to tie things together and elucidate things on, very subscale, subatomic levels, and understand what's going on, and then take that up to it's a systems level to explain, the behaviors of the body and how our therapies interact with these very complex organisms. And so it's just, there's always more to unpack, and there's always different angles, and seeing the evolution of medicine from small molecule compounds that were, just, kind of like you're hitting, all systems with these small molecule compounds, hoping that you get enough of an action out of the target that you're aiming for, to then moving into biologics, where much more targeted therapeutics, to now both of those still, though, were really mostly sometimes just addressing the symptoms. And now we're able to, with cell therapies, actually provide cures. I think it's just been a fascinating thing to watch, and feel very privileged to have been part of that. And we're going to continue to advance. And so, it's very exciting. This is an industry that always has something new and exciting around the corner.
Yeah, I feel like, the level of acceleration that we've witnessed in the last several years, it almost seems like every year forward has some sort of multiple on it, right? In terms of a timeline. And when you think about sort of the bioconvergence of big data, some of these larger language models, and how it's digesting just large swaths of information from, historical clinical trials, or from PIs in the lab that are publishing white papers, or being able to produce different three-dimensional molecules that we never knew existed, because just, getting there at the bench would just take so much time, hundreds of years, frankly, in some cases, maybe the edge cases, but in some cases. Yeah. And so, how is MilliporeSigma approaching, or how are you approaching your role, this bioconvergence of big data? And where have you found some of the most impactful outputs, whether it be efficiencies in production, or novel developments and discovery? Where does this sort of kind of begin to play out for us?
Yeah, so I mean, we have projects, and we look at big data across the entire value chain, right? So how we start to mine literature, right? You talk about big language models, how you mine literature to identify targets. We have some nice software solutions that we offer. One is called Addison, and it is an AI-enabled drug discovery, a drug development tool that allows you to exactly that, to create things in silico that you wouldn't be able to do in the lab, or at least test them, right, in a much more sustainable way. Because the more that you can do in silico rather than doing it in wet chemistry, you can you can develop things quicker, faster, and less, more environmentally friendly, more sustainable. So we have things like that. We also, closer now to my heart, in testing services, we are using, and we just launched our Aptegra platform, which is our next-gen sequencing, whole genome sequencing platform. We just, our Aptegra solution now replaces 5 assays that cut across different technologies. And in one genomic whole genome assay, we can replace 5 separate tests that were previously required. So we're super excited about how we can leverage bioinformatics, whole genome sequencing, to really do things again in a much more efficient, sustainable way. We also, we have platforms that have replaced animal testing. So there's just so much that we can do with new scientific techniques and the use of large data models that it's really exciting. And it's an industry that pushes that envelope, right? How can we do things better, faster, more sustainable, but still have, maintain high quality?
Yeah.
That's what we're striving for.
Yeah, I mean, what you're doing is on the forefront of just a new frontier, and then a new frontier, and then a new frontier.
Exactly. Always raising the bar.
Always raising the bar, and so it's really important, I think, to call out too that you say we a lot, and I think that's really important because you're in a leadership role with a very large corporation that does very impactful work, and so kind of stepping back from maybe the technologies and your day-to-day work, but just thinking about you more so as a leader. What are your guiding principles, and how are you mitigating risks on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I mean, so we within MilliporeSigma, I do think that the thing that we do closely hold to our heart is our role in the ecosystem, and it is about enabling our clients and impacting life and health with science. So, we are a scientific organization. We hire scientists. One of the things I often talk about with my team is that the average American is going to spend between 80 and 90,000 hours of their lives at work. I don't know about you, but I don't want to give up 80 to 90,000 hours of my life not doing something that's impactful. And so, developing and creating an organization that has like-minded people committed to a purpose, working together in a collaborative way, it's a good way to spend your day. And it's, I've been very privileged. We work, the pharmaceutical industry is a very international industry, right? You walk into the labs here, and we're here in Rockville, Maryland, and you're going to meet people from all over the world, but they're all united in a common purpose. So we have this, it's a very diverse, exciting place to work, where you have people sharing a common vision and a common goal. And it's a good way to spend your 80 to 90,000 hours.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And, I had an opportunity to tour your facility here in Rockville recently, and just the level of collaboration, frankly, that was occurring, both at the desks and at the bench was quite motivating. Just the way that folks were huddled around, chairs, and were ideating. And that's really the nature, I think, of this ecosystem and community that companies are building in the scientific sectors and life science sector. And, certainly kind of coming back to our earlier topic points, throughout kind of maybe the pandemic, I know it's 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I try to get out of the notion of there's this pre and post. We are where we are today, but there seemed to be this shift towards a more flexible sort of business model, both from an operational perspective, extending your cash runway, and so a pivot for a lot of companies to despite the premium, turn to contract organizations or service providers for a lot of their R&D work, where they were pre-IND, preclinical, looking towards commercialization. And so, can you just speak to a little bit about that trajectory over the last few years? And have you seen an uptick? We've seen a lot with some of these acquisitions, the likes of Novo and Catalent, and so just be really interested to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the trend for outsourcing continues, and it's driven by several different factors. I mean, if especially a lot of early phase development comes from small biotechs and things that spin out from academia. When you work with a contract organization that has lots of experience, I mean, we are over the contract testing arm of MilliporeSigma is over 65 years old, so we were actually involved in the early phases of defining the safety around the polio vaccine. So, we have this long history of understanding not just the science, but also what regulators are looking for. And so we don't just do the tests. We are, very consultative, and we provide that level of expertise that, certainly smaller companies may not have. For larger companies that do have that expertise, we also offer scale, because we're not just running, one test at a time. We're looking across our client sets. And again, that experience of working at scale is just something that you can't match within a single pharma. So that depth and breadth of experience, because we live and eat and sleep and breathe testing day in and day out, right? That's something that we offer to our clients. And so they come to us for that expertise because we've seen a lot.
Yeah. And it's good you didn't say taste, because I know that's like first principles when it comes to lab testing, right? Don't do that.
Don't do that. Yeah, don't taste it.
But yeah, I mean, it's certainly been an interesting perspective that you have, and you've seen the evolution trajectory of the business and really, frankly, the industry. And so, the scientific community is the one that's close knit, regardless of geography. And so, what does community in particular mean to you? And in particular, maybe the Maryland community more specifically?
So, I mean, for me, particularly working for a multinational, working in science, that collaborative journey, it makes for a very satisfying career. Within Maryland, I think you see that same ecosystem, right? We're located, in a very nice central place, within, driving distance for many of our customers, within driving distance of the FDA. So from that perspective, this ecosystem and the talent that is available here is really unparalleled. And so that is definitely an attractive and why we're based here. It's that combination of having the talent, the regulators, the clients. We're all within a very short distance of one another, and so it creates that we're a services-based organization. So we're nothing without people, and making sure that you have that talent pool available is hugely important. And so that's where I think about that a lot, right? How we make sure that we win the race for talent, and so that's hugely important. And Maryland offers a good base of operation from that perspective.
Yeah, that's very well said. And so, you all have been nominated, in particular, for the Bio Buzz Awards, which will take place later this month. And so, being nominated, what does it mean for you and your team?
And we're super excited about that, right? We had put in one of the things, coming around the time of COVID, we really had to think about our business was expanding greatly. As you may know, we will be opening up this summer our new state-of-the-art facility, 260,000 square feet, just here off of Darnestown Road. And but we really needed to make sure that we had the talent to fill it. And so we put in place a very robust people strategy, tying into the ecosystem within Maryland, working with universities and colleges, working with organizations, such as BioBuzz, to make sure that we're knitted into the community. And so to then be honored by that community is fantastic. We're very, very proud of that and super excited to be nominated.
Yeah, well, Heather, thank you so much for joining me today for BioBlast. We're really excited to follow your progress, and obviously MilliporeSigma has an incredible impact on our local community and ecosystem. So delighted to be your neighbor and look forward to seeing you very soon.
Absolutely. It was really nice speaking to you today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.